مساء الخير طلاب. Good evening. Today's second lecture with regard to your chapter Pragmatics. اليوم محاضرة ثانية من فصل Pragmatics التداولية, and we are going to consider speech acts, a very interesting theory, نظرية جدا مثيرة للاهتمام, and politeness. وهذول النظريتين هم كلش نقدر نقول عليهم very related concepts in pragmatics. So let's begin. Assistant Lecturer Hajar Mahmoud. So with regard to speech acts, we are going to study its definition, what is meant by speech act, some examples, and its types. Speech acts are of two types, direct and indirect speech acts. With regarding to politeness, we are going to discuss the face theory and its two types, the negative and the positive face, in addition to face-threatening acts and face-saving acts. So in our previous lectures, we were always considering how to interpret the meaning, right? But with the speech acts, we are moving away from the listener. Okay, now we are focusing on the speaker. Why? Because his speech, his words are what considered as actions. Now, as readers, we must recognize the action performed by the speaker, which is the speech act. Speech acts are defined as the actions performed by a speaker with an utterance. شنو يعني؟ طبعا احنا دائما بالpragmatics نقول utterance, صح؟ مو sentence ولا statement. utterance. ليش؟ لأنه هاي الutterance ممكن تكون request, possibly be a request, a command, a question, an informing statement, an apology, an insult, etc. So all these are what? Speech acts. They are actions performed by speech. So now words are what? Actions. Words are sorts. For example, if I say I'll be here at 10, this is not merely words. This sentence is not merely words. The action behind these words are what? Promise. I'll be here at 10. This is what? A promise. So according to the theory of speech acts, every act is an action performed, or every speech is an action performed by the speaker, and the hearer or the listener must interpret not only the hidden meaning, لكن هو ال hidden meaning شنو ال proposition هو ال speech act نفسه. For example, if I say in our previous lecture I gave you an example which was I'm cold, right? وطلعنا من عدة inference, that is what? I need you to close the door. I'm cold is not merely a declarative statement. A declarative statement, الجملة الخبرية. مدى أعطيكم أني فقط معلومة. I'm not giving you a tip. No. I'm giving you what? A speech act. Sometimes I may say, could you pass me the salt? Or pass me the salt. Here are two structures, two different structures. Pass me the salt and could you pass me the salt? ممكن أقول, for example, I can say I apologize. I'm sorry. I apologize. من structure, this is what? A direct apology. The speech act هنا هو apology, الاعتذار. When I say I apologize for hurting your feelings, here, according to the structure of the sentence, The speech act is what? Something, and I am sorry for hurting your feeling. I am sorry for hurting your feelings. Here there is no direct word اللي هي apology in the sentence. According to the structure of the sentences, speech acts are divided into two types: direct and indirect speech acts. Direct speech acts, in such a sentence or in such an utterance, there is a direct relationship between the structure of the sentence, يعني the words, whether the sentence is a declarative or an interrogative or an imperative, and the communicative function. أو خلينا نسميه, let's call it the intended meaning. يعني for example, when I say, do you wear a seat belt? هنا there is no an indirect relationship between the structure. I'm asking, this is a question. If he's not wearing his seat belt, I say, wear a seat belt, or wear your seat belt. ارتدي حزام الأمان أو الحزام اللي بالسيارة. I don't know what you call it. And then هنا شنو? This is a command. بالشكل هي in form, in structure, هي شنو? An imperative, جملة أمرية, والfunction مالتها and its function is what? Also a command, أمر. So تشوفون there is a direct relationship between the imperative structure هنا and the function واللي هو شنو? Command. So indirect speech acts in intended meaning. The intended meaning is explicitly illustrated, expressed, found in the structure of the sentence. On the other hand, the indirect speech act has no such relationship. The relationship is not explicit, it is implicit. This means that I can use an interrogative sentence, يعني سؤال, for making what? A request. For example, could you pass the salt? Or I can also use a declarative statement, جملة خبرية, to make a request. For example, I'm watching TV and my son comes in front of the TV while I'm watching. So I can say, you're standing in front of the TV. This is what a sentence. This is not something I give with, يعني this is not something with which, or an utterance with which I am giving an information. He knows that he is standing in front of the TV. But he must, as a listener, he must arrive at the implicit function of the utterance. الوظيفة الضمنية من هذه الجملة, which is what? A request, which means step away, move away from the TV I am watching, which is something quite different from the structure of the sentence. That's why they are called indirect speech acts. Okay? You see, in this picture, for example, if the first one is asking for directions to, let's say, أهل البيت University, and in his question he may say, do you know the directions to أهل البيت University? Do you know where أهل البيت University is? Now, according to this question, the listener must say yes, and he must give the directions. If the listener couldn't arrive at the intended function of the utterance and treated the utterance as a question, not a request for direction, يعني عامل الجملة عامل عفوا السؤال كسؤال اعتيادي تندل أهل البيت اي اندلها وعافك وراح. This is what راح يصير عندي communication breakdown. يعني ليش؟ لأنه the listener couldn't understand what I want, couldn't infer, ما قدر يطلع المعنى الضمني الحقيقي, which is what a request for directions. He must say yes, for example, then he gives the directions, الحر, street, etc. So the main reason why people use indirect speech acts is to make their speech elegant, is to make their speech polite, to be polite. يعني in the former picture the speaker can say give me the directions to Ahl al-Bayt University, but such a sentence to an unfamiliar person, to a strange person in the street, would be what? Rude. من تيجي تقول للواحد انطيني لوكيشن مال أهل البيت يونيفرسيتي، أو انطيني الديركشنز توجيهات للشارع المؤدي إلى أهل البيت، شنو المستمع راح يكون ردة فعله؟ يعني راح يكون شنو؟ يعتبر الكلام هذا شبيه رود أو impolite، أو ممكن حتى بعد ما يعطينا الديركشنز اللي نريدها. So in order to be polite, elegant, we should use indirect speech acts. This brings us to the second part of our lecture, which is politeness. When I say politeness, everyone would think of words like modest, nice to other people, tactful, friendly, right? These words come up into your minds when I say politeness. But we are not talking about politeness in general concepts. We are talking about linguistic politeness. من نحكي linguistic politeness, then we must consider a concept واللي هو which is face or your face. In Pragmatics, your face is your public self-image. يعني شنو self-image? Your public self-image يعني the emotional and social sense of self that everyone has and everyone expects to be recognized. You can find such definition on page 135 in Politeness. Okay? So, according to face concept, politeness can be defined as showing awareness and consideration of another person's face. يعني شنو؟ يعني in order to be polite لازم أحترم another's face or other's face عفوا. In order to show politeness I must show respect to others' face. وقلنا شنو يعني face؟ public self-image. Okay? Then according to face concept راح يصير عندنا if I preserved others' face يعني I am making a face saving act. If I'm not preserving others' face إذا مدى حافظ على وجوه الآخرين I am making a face threatening act. ترى احنا عندنا العراقيين هذا الكونسبت، وهو أول ما the first who dealt with this concept are the Japanese واللي هم the most polite persons on earth. okay? لكن احنا بالعراقي هم نقول احفظ ماء الوجه، كلمة ماي وجهك او ماي وجهه ماي وجهي، صح؟ دائما احنا نستخدمها in Iraqi or in Iraqi speech we always use such word as my face, others' face. So it is a concept for politeness, and it is a general concept in politeness. So as long as I can preserve others' faces, I can also threat others' face. For example, this sentence, give me that paper. If you utter such sentence to your brother, it would be okay. It will be saving his face. If you utter it or say it to your classmate or colleague, it would be okay. It would be also a face saving act. If you say it to your sister, it's okay. To anyone with the same social power, with the same social status, it's okay. But if you say, give me that paper, to your supervisor, to your teacher, to your boss, for example, this would be what? A face, a threatening act. Why? Because such sentence represents a threat to others' self-image. واللي هو شنو self-image? Face. If you say to your teacher, give me that paper, since the other or the hearer is with a more powerful social sense and he or she is more careful about his social sense, he would or she would recognize it as a face, a threatening act. So according to be more polite, you should say or you should use an indirect speech act. طبعا احنا we are dealing with the requests, and then لازم اقول شنو, could you give me the paper, أو ممكن اقول could you give me the paper please give me the paper, etc. This would lessens, يقلل from the possible threat to another's face and would be considered as a face saving act. So this brings us to two types of face, two types of self-image, two types of senses, the negative one and the positive one. The negative does not mean a bad face or a bad self-image. It is just the opposite of the positive face. Now let's see what is meant by both. The negative face is the need to be independent and free from imposition. Okay, so according to the negative face, I must say, for example, I'm sorry to bother you. See, I don't want to impose on someone. I must make the hearer feel independent, not dependent. I must say, for example, I know you're busy, but, and continue. So I must preserve the negative face of others in order to make a face-saving act. The positive face is the need to be connected. Yani, for example, I need to feel as a member of a group. I need to feel that I belong to you when you speak to me. That's why you can say, for example, you and I, let's do it together. For example, you and I will need the salt. So will you bring it with you? Oh, we need the salt. So will you bring it while you come here? So here I am making a face-saving act by preserving the positive face. While if the listener has a negative face, or I want to preserve the negative face, I can say, I'm sorry to bother you. I know you're busy, but will you bring the salt with you, please? That's how you make a face-saving act that emphasizes others' positive face. Okay? With regard to politeness and culture, each culture has a certain orientation to directness or indirectness. I want you all to consider politeness in our culture. How, according to this picture, of course, are you going to impose on the person? Do we need a negative face in order, for example, to invite someone, or we need a positive face? This is a question for you all. Now I want you to do all the exercises on page 137. All of the study questions from 1 to 6. Some of them were discussed in the first part, not in this one, not in this session. Number 1, what kinds of deictic expressions? All the deictics, يعني تعرفون احنا deictic expressions are 3 types: person deixis, temporal deixis, and spatial deixis. So it is a very easy one. Number 2, about anaphoric reference. It is also a very simple one. You know that the anaphora is not the antecedent. It refers to something previously mentioned. Number 3, about inferences. الانفرنسز ممكن تكون pronoun and reference ممكن يكون proper nouns, inferences, etc. Number 4, presupposition, also discussed in the first part of or in the previous session, not in this one. Number 3, about speech acts. Okay, identify whether the following sentence utterances are direct or indirect speech acts. For example, number letter A, I'll solve it right here. Move. This is an imperative statement with a direct speech act اللي هو عندنا command. So it is a command. So it is a direct speech act. Okay. Also number 6, the speaker is appealing to positive or negative face. If it is obvious, I want you all to solve them, and please comment on the Moodle. If I will download it on the Moodle, if I download it on Google Classroom, please comment if you don't or if you can't solve anyone. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Assistant Lecturer Hajar Mahmoud was with you.